Today I'm giving you guys my Week 16 power rankings. Obviously, I'm losing my voice right now. I'm going to try to get through as much as I can, so bear with me. First of all, let's go ahead and get started off with the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, they did get another win. To be in the chase of a playoff hunt, they need a lot of help, though, obviously. I mean, it was versus the Tennessee Titans, though, one of the worst teams in the NFL. They only won by 10 points with Will Levis throwing like 2 or 3 interceptions, so because of that, I know they're still not a great team. I'm going to go ahead and put them in C. I hope they make a playoff run because, obviously, Joe Burrow in the playoffs will be huge to see. And we have the New England Patriots. I pretty much say this every single week. They are a bad team that's going to compete for the first overall pick. At least they probably have their franchise quarterback in Drake May going forward. So I'm going to go ahead and put them in D, but at least they still do have a lot of hope. We have the New Orleans Saints, and to be honest, I thought they were going to get blown out versus the Washington Commanders because the Washington Commanders are a good team, and plus they didn't have Derek Carr neither. But honestly, this team looked better without him. They were so close. They were literally a 2-point conversion away from winning the game, and they could have went for an extra point and tied it instead of overtime. But I still don't think they're a great team, so I still am going to put them in C, but my respect went a lot higher. And we have the Pittsburgh Steelers, and it was a huge game for them. We know it was going to be a dogfight versus the Philadelphia Eagles, and even though they got a loss, I still respect them. They still look pretty darn good against them, so I am still going to put them in A. I don't know if they'll reach the Super Bowl or anything like that, but they might win a playoff game or maybe even 2 and go to the AFC Championship game. Depends on who they play. Now for the 49ers, I'm not going to lie, I was holding out hope for this team for the longest time just because of who they got on their team, but they are not looking good at all. I'm not going to put them in that C category because technically they could still make the playoffs as well. So I am going to put them in B, but they're going to be like at the very lowest part, probably like second to last team. We have the Arizona Cardinals, and I'm not going to lie, I've been up and down for them pretty much the whole entire year up to this point. Sometimes they have stretches where they look really good. Sometimes they have stretches where they look really bad, like the past 2 weeks, besides for this past one when they beat the Patriots. I've been putting them in like the middle-ish of B, and I think that's exactly where I'm going to put them again. Just because they beat the New England Patriots, one of the worst teams in the NFL, I'm not going to rank them a lot higher than I had them last week. We have the Atlanta Falcons up next, but actually they play tonight because I'm recording this video before their Monday Night Football game, so we have to put the Falcons, the Raiders, the Vikings, and Bears to last. I am still going to do them in this video, but it'll be till the last part because I got to go watch the game and I'll come back and finish them in this video. Got the Baltimore Ravens. I'm not going to lie, after ranking them in S last week, I saw a lot of you guys saying that they should be an S. I'm not going to lie, once I sat back and kind of thought about it, I was like, yeah, they're kind of right. They really shouldn't be an S. They still won versus the New York Giants, so it's no reason for me to put them lower than I already had them. So I still am going to put them in S. I'm definitely going to put them lower than I had them. Next up, we have the Buffalo Bills. And let me tell you guys, these are one of my Super Bowl favorites right now. Josh Allen's looking like an MVP. Going into Detroit and beating the Lions like they did and putting the amount of points they did, it was amazing. The only thing that I'm struggling for them is their defense. They have been allowing crazy amount of numbers from the other opponents, but I still am going to put them in S. Probably my second for the Super Bowl favorite right now. And we have my Carolina Panthers. I thought that we were actually going to be a really good team for the rest of the season after looking good the past 3 weeks and almost winning all those 3 games. But we look absolutely terrible versus the Cowboys. Nobody played good except for maybe Jalen Coker. I had them at the very top of C last week, but with seeing how we played, I'm going to have to put them back in D, sadly. We have the Cleveland Browns, who actually made a quarterback change because Jameis Winston just doesn't know how to protect the ball. He would actually be a good quarterback if he didn't throw so many interceptions. But that's Jameis Winston football. I am going to put them in C because I do think they have some good things on their team to not be in D, but they're going to be at the very bottom of that list. Now we have the Dallas Cowboys. I'm very interested to what I'm going to think about this. Without Dak Prescott, they're not like one of those teams that's going to compete for the playoffs. I don't even know if they were with Dak Prescott. But I'm not going to lie, Cooper Rush did look good versus the Panthers, but then again, it is the Panthers. I'm kind of up and down on them right now. They're running the ball well. Defense played really good as well. Honestly, they should have beat the Bengals last week. I'm going to put them in C, I guess. I definitely don't think they belong in B. Probably right between the Bengals and the Saints right now. We have the Denver Broncos. I'm not going to lie. I'm just going to go ahead and put them in A. I don't know if they're going to go all the way to the Super Bowl or not. Obviously, that's why I'm not putting them in S. But they are playing very good football right now. The only thing that worries me about them is Bo Nix turning over the ball because the past few weeks he has thrown a lot of interceptions, but they've still been winning games by a pretty big margin as well. So I still do like their team. This is going to be the Detroit Lions. I'm not going to lie. I thought they would win this game versus the Buffalo Bills, but obviously they didn't. 2 things that I don't like about the Lions. All the injuries, obviously. Second of all, Dan Campbell's own field decisions. Now, don't get me wrong. The guy can build an amazing franchise, an amazing organization. He has turned this one around for the better. But some of these coaching decisions he makes on the field are going to come back to bite him in the butt when the playoffs come around. So I still am going to put him in as obviously they haven't given me a reason not to put him that high. But I am going to drop them down a little bit right under the Buffalo Bills. We have the Tennessee Titans. I thought there was a future for Will Levis in Tennessee because the past like 4 or 5 weeks, he had a couple of really good games. Offense has started to take a huge lead. This past week, I don't know if he's ever going to start in the NFL again. He threw 12 passes, completing 8 of them, but also threw 3 interceptions, and then he got benched for Mason Rudolph while his ex-girlfriend was at the game as well. I'm going to have to put him in D, probably the last part of D as well. So we had the Green Bay Packers. I was kind of limiting my expectations on this team a lot because they weren't looking good in the first part of the season, and Jordan Love was turning over the ball a lot. Past 4 games, they have been looking amazing, scoring 30 or more points in all 4 of those games. I don't know if they're going to go all the way to the Super Bowl NFC Championship game, but I do think they have the potential to do it, so I am going to put them in A. Honestly, probably at the top of A. That offense is looking amazing right now. We have the Houston Texans. I was expecting them to lose to the Miami Dolphins. Tua once again pooped his pants when it comes down to him needing to win a game, but we'll get to that later. Texans showed a lot of fight. Still don't think they're a great team. I am going to put them in B over the 49ers right now. Definitely making the playoffs because the AFC South is so weak, but I don't expect them to do anything in the big dance. Indianapolis Colts are up next, and they just played the Denver Broncos and got blown out versus them. Honestly, this might be one of the worst teams that have over 5 wins in the NFL right now. I'm going to go ahead and put them in C, probably right behind the Dallas Cowboys. Next is going to be the Jacksonville Jaguars. I know a lot of people were kind of hating on Trevor Lawrence and say he was the problem. I didn't believe that, but since he's been hurt, the offense has been looking a lot better. Even though they did lose, they scored 25 points against the New York Jets. And I was saying that obviously they're still not a good team. I'm going to put them in D, probably at the very top of it though. Next, we have the Kansas City Chiefs. And like I said every single week, I know it's not looking amazing for them right now. It's not looking pretty, but they are still getting wins. So I'm going to put them in the top of this. And by the way, with the whole Patrick Mahomes situation, while recording this video, I don't know if he's going to be out even one game or not. So I'm not fully taking that account because I don't know. Next, we have the LA Rams. I know it's been a very up and down season for them so far, and they didn't score many points last week versus the 49ers, but I feel like they showed us the past 2 weeks that they could do multiple things. They can be in a shootout and show that their offense is really capable, or they can get some gritty, tough wins out. Both of those are obviously good. Top of the NFC West right now. Looks like they're going to win it as well. I'm going to put them in the top of B. Then we have the LA Chargers. Don't know what to think about this team. They have been looking really good at times. Then at times they've not been looking so good. Like this past week, they got blown out versus the Buccaneers, allowing 40 points to them at like the top it should be last week. But with that big loss, I'm going to have to drop them a lot further. Even though they probably won't win a playoff game, it's been amazing to see Harbaugh change this culture around like he did. He inherited a roster that wasn't the best. Once he can have about another year or maybe even 2 to build the roster, I really do think they will be Super Bowl contenders. And we have the Miami Dolphins, and like I said earlier, Tua Tagovailoa just once again crapping his pants when they need to win a playoff game. I still don't think they're a bad team, but I don't think they're going to make it to the playoffs now. I'm going to put them in like the very bottom part of B, but I think they will beat the 49ers because they've been looking awful. Now we have the New York Jets. I don't really think I need to say a lot. They got blown out versus the Baltimore Ravens, and obviously before this game, I thought they were one of the worst teams in the NFL, so I still am going to put them at D category, probably right above the Tennessee Titans this time. The New York Jets, I'm not going to lie, these past 2 weeks, they have been looking a lot better. Now, obviously, they're not a good team. They're not going to make it to the playoffs or anything. But I mean, they scored 26 versus the Dolphins and then 32 against the Jags. So I'm going to put them a little bit higher than I had them. I'm still going to put them in that C category, this time right above the Cowboys. Seattle Seahawks have been looking very good these past few weeks. But like I've always said, once they get into these games where they need to get big time wins, like this past weekend, they're going to choke. I don't think they're going to win the NFC West now. It's probably going to be between the Rams and Cardinals. I am still going to put them in B because I do think they're a really good team, but I don't think they'll do anything special. Probably going to put them right above the Arizona Cardinals. I can't put them under them because they have literally beaten them twice in the past 4 weeks. These were the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I'm not going to lie. I thought they were a good team. I didn't think they were a great team though, but after beating the Chargers the way they did, putting up 40 points, this offense looked great. I don't know if they'll win a playoff game once they get into the playoffs, but I think the NFC South is theirs now. I'm going to put them right under the Rams in B. We have the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm not going to lie. I think this is the most well-rounded team in the NFL. I'm not saying they're the best. I had them in the A category last week, but I'm going to promote them to the S. I do think that they could go all the way to the Super Bowl, and I wouldn't be very shocked. Then we have the Washington Commanders. They were looking very good earlier on in the year. But once their opponents started to get tougher, they started struggling a lot. So it makes it hard for me to really believe in them. And plus, they barely beat the Saints without Derek Carr this week, only winning by 1 point. So I am still going to put them in B because I do think they're a pretty solid team. But I'm going to put them in the last part of B. Like I said, I am recording this before the Monday Night Football games. So I'm going to go watch that real quick. I'm going to come back to end this video with these 4 teams. After watching those 2 Monday Night Football games, don't mind I have my Christmas pajamas on. But first of all, we're going to do the Chicago Bears. It didn't look terrible, but they didn't necessarily look like a great team either. They could have honestly won that game if they didn't shoot themselves in the foot. So I'm going to put them like higher to the C category, probably right above the Dallas Cowboys. Then we have the Minnesota Vikings, and they have an amazing record right now at 12-2, and honestly could still win the NFC North division. Honestly, they didn't really play like a Super Bowl caliber team. They do need to fix a couple things around the edge. With the record that they have, they honestly probably should go S. But like I said, they're not looking like a Super Bowl caliber team right now. So I am going to put them in A, probably right at the top of it as well. Our next game, first of all, we have the Las Vegas Raiders. They held on to that game versus the Falcons, but the Falcons aren't really looking like a great team either. So I still am going to put the Raiders in D, probably right above the New York Giants. And then last is going to be the Atlanta Falcons. I'm not going to lie, even though they're still in the playoff race in the NFC South, they have been looking like one of the worst teams in football the past like 4 or 5 weeks, even though they still got a win versus the Raiders. I am very close to dropping them down in that C category, but also with the 49ers being in B, they have been looking very bad as well. So I think I'm going to put them in B, probably right above the Niners. But if you say they should be in C, I could see that as well. That's going to be my Week 15 Power Rankings, everybody. I really hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll check you guys out next time. Peace.